Hi folks, this is the help video for logging into Sigma. So there's two ways you can get to the platform. You can come to wascapital.com, the main website, and click the Sigma link in the top menu bar, or you can navigate directly to wascapital.com/Sigma, and both of these will bring up the username and password box for login. Your username and password details will be supplied separately, so if you input those into the login box and click login, you'll be taken to the annual attestation screen. So this is a standard user disclaimer. It will prompt on an annual basis for you to complete this, and it's just a case of reading through it and clicking I agree. When you agree, it will take you to your dashboard with a confirmation of the attestation success above, and the only panel that there will be for you to see at the moment is a news panel with a couple of news stories in there, just to act as a landing page for now. And logging out is equally as simple. So if you click on the main menu icon in the top right hand corner, it will bring in your main menu with some details of your user account and the tools you've got access to. The logout button is the top right hand button there, so if you click that, you'll be taken back to the login page. Now on second or subsequent logon, you won't be presented with the attestation form again. That's just on first logon and once per year after that. All logons post that first logon will take you directly to your dashboard. If this is the first time you've logged on, you're going to want to change the password you've been supplied with for security reasons. To do this, click the main menu icon in the top right hand corner, and in the user pane at the top, the fourth option is for change password. If you click that button, you'll be presented with a change password dialog box, and in here you can type your current password and then your new password twice, making sure that you get the new password and confirm password options the same. Click submit and it will confirm your password's been changed. If you want, you can save this in your password manager and you can log out and log back in to test that the new password works as intended. Once you've changed your password, the next thing you want to check is the user configuration to see if there's anything there you want to edit. So again, if you click on the menu icon and then in the user pane at the top, select the account settings option. This will take you to a manage user account page. In here you can update your email address if required, update your local tax rate if required, or update your local currency if required. Now, as the box on the right hand side says, if you've already added portfolio activity within the portfolio section of the site and you've added activity that has a forex rate linked to it that converts from your non-local currency to local currency within the calculations, updating the local currency here won't update those exchange rates because they're recorded on a per activity basis. So this setting should only really be updated on the first configuration of the account. If we need to change the exchange rate for each of those individual items from one currency to another, that would have to be done on an individual line item basis. So that'll become more obvious when you see the portfolio section later. But for now, set your local currency to whatever your local currency is from the options within the list. So for me, that's GBP. Click on update settings and you'll see the confirmation to say that this has been updated, dated below. And that concludes the initial user logon and first time setup portion of Sigma. We'll move on next to looking at the portfolio tools and how we use those to manage and track our portfolio. So we're going to have a look now at the tools included within Sigma. Those can all be found in the main menu. The first and only one at the moment as we build out the platform is the investment portfolio. So you click on the investment portfolio menu heading, you'll see there are two options in there, Portfolio Manager and Portfolio Analytics. We'll concentrate firstly on Portfolio Manager, which is where all the user input happens and where you record all the details of your portfolio. You can open Portfolio Manager by clicking on the link on the menu and you'll be presented with this screen initially, which defaults to the portfolio activity view. Along the top you'll see the tabs which signify all the different attributes that are part of a portfolio and all the different areas you can add data. So the place to start within Portfolio Manager is to explain how the portfolios are constructed from a logical level within the platform. And each of these tabs at the top signify an important part within the portfolio and the different designations of assets or portfolios or providers that you can make within those. So starting at the top level, you'll have parts of your portfolio sitting on one or more providers. Many people have got multiple providers, some people just have one. So provider is the first level of your portfolio. Within providers, you'll have different parts of a portfolio. So you may have, for example, a pension, an ISA, a crypto portfolio, a trading portfolio, a savings account for your children. All of these sorts of things would be logical splits of an overall portfolio at the kind of lower level. And you may find that those portfolios span providers. So for example, if you have a crypto portfolio, some of that may sit on Binance, some may sit on Kraken, some may sit in your own individual private wallets on a ledger or on a software wallet. So these are the kind of two top level items within it, where we'll have logical splits of portfolio, and those portfolios exist on one or more providers. Within those portfolios then you'll have assets and funds, so single assets being a single stock, a single cryptocurrency, a single commodity or fixed income asset like a bond or a gilt, and then an ETF or a fund is a collection of those where the basket's pre-configured for you and you're just buying into that fund. Those single assets and funds provide portfolio activity. You're either buying or selling one of those asset types, and then each of those asset types, both funds and single assets, will have a valuation at any given time, which will signify the value of your portfolio at that time, the collection of all those assets together. And then the final tab there is the quarterly reports section, which allows you to kind of manage the portfolio holistically at an individual portfolio level, but bring it all together holistically from a quarter by quarter perspective, so you can see what your start, finish and additional capital metrics were within that portfolio. So we'll start to run through these just now, but that's the general construct of it, just to give that understanding of why these tabs exist and why they're important. So the last thing to point out is that the first 6 tabs in here along to asset valuations, those are all linked, so all the data within those is linked to the data within each other. The quarterly reports tab is a completely independent view where you can just record the kind of high level metrics that are important, so you can track it on a quarterly basis. So we thought it was important to keep those separate so that you had the option of recording the quarterly reports without going through the individual assets and items if you didn't want to do that, or if there was a lot of information for you to put in and you just wanted to get the quarterly review as you were building the rest of that, or if you fall behind or so on. So those two are separate, and that will make more sense as we go through the configuration of these. So we'll start to build up this portfolio from left to right so you can see how this operates. So we'll start with the left tab, which is providers. Now in here you can add new providers. As you can see, there's no providers in there for us to edit at this point, so we don't get that option. So let's say you wanted to add Binance as a crypto provider. So the options are general investment account including crypto, tax advantage or cash account. This would be the former. And it's as simple as just hitting add provider. You'll get the success message to say that's come up. If you want to add others, for example you wanted to add Kraken as another crypto account, or you wanted to add Trading 212 as an ISA, or you wanted to add let's say an HSBC or a Vanguard account, actually a Vanguard account as a junior ISA or as an ISA account or pension, then you can add all these in. So you can add whichever providers you want to use. You don't need to use the actual names if you don't feel comfortable using the names on here. This is just to give you a method to track where parts of your portfolio are at any given time. If you want to edit any of these, you can click on the edit button and it'll bring you into the options for editing, changing the name, changing the type, and you can delete the provider as well if you would like to do that. Just be aware that if you delete that, you can't undo that, and if it's linked to then portfolio activity later, then that portfolio activity will be marked as orphaned within your portfolio. But there shouldn't really ever be any need to to delete providers, so it's just a case of adding the providers you want to use and editing them as required. The next item on the list then is portfolios, and as I said in the earlier part of the video, this is just a notional split of how you want to split the overall portfolio down into sub-portfolios. So you may, for example, have a crypto portfolio, which is you consider to be part of your trading account, and your allocation to that is 10%. You may have a pension as part of your portfolio, which is your core portfolio and low risk, and that's going to be 60% of your target portfolio. You might have an ISA, which you consider to be a kind of mess around portfolio, so medium risk, and that takes up maybe 15% of the total allocation of your portfolio. And then finally, you may have like a junior ISA or something like that for your kids, which you consider to be part of your core portfolio and low risk, and you're putting 5% into that. And that leaves you kind of 10% if you want to have, for example, a cash portfolio, which is something that you just have around for emergencies or so on. So you can put that in there as well to see what you want to build it up. So your portfolio should in total be 100%, obviously, and this is just a kind of, as I say, a logical split of how you want to record different parts against your overall portfolio, so you can log the data and the activity and the assets that you have in each of them at any given time. Again, with ease editing, it's fairly straightforward. Just click the edit button in whichever part you want to edit, and it'll take you into the edit screen. If you decide, for example, that you're not going to have a specific cash portfolio, you're going to have a trading account, an investment trading account, and you'll keep cash as an asset class within these portfolios, you can change the name to trading, keep it at 10%, edit portfolio, it'll change the name to trading, and you can manage your activity across that. Now, this will be linked to activity within the portfolio later, so if you name something one thing and then change the name at a later date after you've added activity, all the activity that you've added to the initial name will be automatically updated to the new name. So just keep that in mind if you're going to be changing this later. But fairly straightforward. Portfolios are logical splits of portfolio, of parts of your overall portfolio. Next up is single assets. Again, fairly self-explanatory within the context of a portfolio. If you decide you're going to add a new asset to the portfolio, so for example, you're going to add some coin, so you may want to put that in actually as Coinbase rather than coin, with the ticker coin. Choose the asset class, which is equities. It gives you some options for asset and sector. So in this scenario, it's technology and North America. Add the asset, and it'll add that in there to your portfolio. Let's say you want to add some Bitcoin. So again, you'd add Bitcoin, ticker BTC. The asset class this time is cryptocurrency, and the asset sector is medium risk digital in terms of Bitcoin. You want to add some Ethereum. So again, go through the process of adding the assets. It's cryptocurrency again, and this time it's a large cap. Or you want to add some gold. So add the ticker. This time it's a commodity, and there's no other region or sector data for commodities required. And as you can see, you're starting to build up the assets that you plan to put within your portfolio, and this allows you to then log activity against these later. Once this list starts to grow a little, you can search within that for specific assets if you want to later, and it will bring up the one that you searched for. To edit these again, click the edit button. It gives you the options to edit all the existing data that's in there and to delete the asset if you want to do that. Now again, when editing an asset, if you've recorded activity against that asset and you change the name, for example, then all of the activity that's already recorded against that asset will be retained. It will just be changed over to use the new name. So this is really only for updating kind of spelling mistakes, so if you get the ticker wrong or the ticker changes or something along those lines. It's not for using one asset as another, or you can cause yourself some difficulties within the portfolio, but fairly self-explanatory, just raising of specific assets across the portfolio. And moving on, ETFs and funds is exactly the same. So if you had, for example, some of the Vanguard products in Life Strategy 60, You want to add one of those in. This is a 60% equities and 40% fixed income ETF. Add that fund in and it'll add it into the table for you, showing you what your split of asset classes are. If you wanted to do something a bit more adventurous, like for example an HSBC All World Tracker, which is 100% equities, then you can add that in. And again, it just adds the funds into your portfolio, so you're able to then log activity against it from a portfolio perspective. And now that you've added your providers, your portfolios, your single assets and your funds, you can move along to portfolio activity, and you'll see that within the assets, all the assets that we've added to this portfolio already are here for you to select from. So if you wanted to buy some Bitcoin, you would then be able to choose the provider that you bought it on, so we can buy it on Kraken, the date, so we'll just do last week at some point, the portfolio you want to add that to, so this is part of your crypto portfolio. It's a buy. You performed the buy in dollars. You paid $3.45 for the purchase. The unit price was $92,000. You bought 0.25 units, and your forex rate from your purchase currency into your local currency, whatever you selected here, is what you add into this box. So for me, that would be $1.23.5 per pound. Add that portfolio activity in, and you'll see again it pops up on the right hand side in terms of your portfolio. Let's say we wanted to buy some gold. We bought the gold on Trading 212. We did it today. That's part of the pension. It was a buy. It was done in pounds this time. There was no fee. It was a commission fee broker. The unit price was 2345. We bought 3 units, and the forex rate is not required because we bought it in local currency. And again, you can see it just gets added into the table on the right hand side there. This table can be edited in line, so all these things you can change just from within the table here. So if we decided that actually the fee was £1.99 but we forgot to put that in, you can change it in the box, hit the save button, confirm, and I'll update that for you as well. So all these items can be changed in line. And this is how you build up the activity log within your portfolio of buys and sells as you go. Again, there's filters in here for the assets, so all your assets you can filter to see all of the activity that's been performed in any of these assets, so gold and Bitcoin in this instance, or if we don't have any, then it'll tell us there's none and show us them all. Or you can filter per portfolio from a pension level or a crypto trading level here, or again, if you've not got any activity yet, it'll just tell you there's no results for that portfolio. So this is how you build up and track your activity across providers, across portfolios and across assets, and it'll allow us to generate reports on all that activity later. And it's fairly straightforward in terms of the data we're putting in, not a huge amount, and can repeat it on a buy and sell basis per asset that you've added to your portfolio. So I've just quickly gone through there and added a bit more portfolio activity. So if you're watching me type really slowly, I've sped up the video just so you can see it happening in the background. One quick note I want to add in here for people with existing portfolios who are thinking at this point I need to go back and figure out all my individual transaction costs and what they were and when they were to add those in. That's not required for setting up a portfolio for the first time. The assumption this makes is that you'll know, even if it's just at a rough level to start your tracking, what your overall number of units held of an asset are and your overall cost basis for that asset at this point in time. So in order to generate the portfolio to begin with, it's absolutely fine if you, for example, right now hold 2 units of Bitcoin and your average buy-in or cost basis for those two units of Bitcoin is $46,000, then you can add 2 units of Bitcoin at $46,000. You don't have to worry about the individual buys and sells that happened all along the way to get to this point. You can start to record those on that individual basis going forward from here, but the important thing is just to get your current holdings and your current cost basis in here so that it can start the portfolio for you. So hopefully that makes sense. You don't have to go back in time and track all your previous transactions. you can simply add one line item for each asset that you have at the moment, which includes the number of units held and the cost basis you had for that as the unit price. Keep the fees at zero, use today's exchange rate if you want to use today's exchange rate for that, and everything else should automatically calculate from there. And then going forward you can put in the individual transactions, but you don't need to go backwards and put in the individual transactions. Hopefully that makes sense. So the last tab in the activity part of the portfolio is asset valuations. Now when you click on this, you'll notice that there are already asset valuations in here. Whenever you add portfolio activity, be it a buy or a sell, the system records the valuation at that time, so that you've always got that kind of asset valuation for updating the value of the portfolio. You can though add updated asset valuations if, for example, you're someone who buys and holds over a long period of time and you haven't had any transactions on a specific asset for a while, and you want to update the value of that. You can simply come in here, choose the asset, choose the currency, the price and the forex rate, and you can add the valuation as of now if you want to do that. So when it adds it to the database, it adds it to the database as a valuation as of today. So if I wanted to say update Bitcoin to today's valuation in dollars, then I would update that to 104,595. The forex rate today is 122.3. Add the asset valuation, and again you'll see that valuation gets added. It gets added with today's date, so there's a few others in today that were purchased today, and again these can all be edited in line. So if you think if we got that a little bit wrong, you want to update that. If it's 105,674, update it, save it, and it will record that for you in the database. So just a way for you to add up-to-date valuations for the assets outside the portfolio activity, which allows you to calculate automatically in the background the overall valuation of the portfolio, which you'll see in a moment when we get to the analytics section. So the final tab in the portfolio manager is for quarterly reports, and this just gives you a way to record some kind of high level information on each of your individual portfolios or portfolio splits. That allows you to track it on a quarter by quarter basis, so you can make sure that you're hitting the targets that you have for yourself and your portfolio. So it's as simple as choosing the year and the quarter to initiate a portfolio. So if we say 2024 Q4 in this instance, I'm going to keep it in GB pounds. The portfolio that I'm going to put into this one is the pension, and I'm going to say that the starting valuation for that was £65,000 just to get it going. So what that'll do is it'll start a quarterly report for Q4 2024. You'll see this over here, and at the end of the quarter it would just be a case of you coming in and saying at the end of the quarter the valuation was 78,000 and you'd added an extra 10,000 in capital. As part of that, save it, click OK, and it'll calculate what your actual P&L was and your P&L percentage from a portfolio perspective minus the capital added. As you can imagine, if you do that across the piece, so if I add in the 2025 portfolio, so the starting value is the ending value from previous quarter, start that and it gives me one to update at the end of this quarter. As you can imagine, if you start building that back the way to Q3, Q4 and so on and so forth, it allows you to have a view of what your portfolio value was on a quarter by quarter basis. So it's quite a useful tool, and again it'll make more sense when you see the analytics section, how this works. I've clearly made a mistake there, but yes, there we go. So I started at 78 and ended at 65, so those are what I was putting in there. That was supposed to be 48. There we go, that's better. Good to see. You can update that as you go. So I'll build this up again just for the portfolios that we've got in here, so I can show you how this looks. But quarterly reports will make more sense when you see the analytics section. So now we have all of our providers and portfolios added. The single assets and funds are added. We've added some portfolio activity across these assets and funds and providers and portfolios. We've got some asset valuations, and we've added some quarterly report data. So let's have a look at the portfolio analytics section and see what all of these additions drive for us. So the first tab on this is your headline report. Now this shows you based on the asset classes, sectors and the regions chosen during the original configuration within the other data additions within the portfolio manager section, what your split of diversification is, and this calculates every time you add something, so it all calculates in the background for you. So we can see here you've got 23% in ETFs and funds, 17% in equities, 3% in commodities and 56% in cryptocurrency. So having this view allows you to decide whether that allocation is what you want or whether you need to rebalance the portfolio across the piece, and this is all calculated for you with every buy, every sell, every change you make to the activity within the portfolio. In terms of sectors, you can see here you have 47% in large cap cryptocurrency, you've got 16% in cyclical base materials, 1% in sensitive technology, 26% which is in no sector, and 10% in Bitcoin. And the same for region, it gives you a split of that in terms of the UK and Ireland, North America, and no region. So no region there is going to be the commodities and the cryptocurrencies and the funds, because those are kind of global rather than local. The tables below will show you calculations of your headline portfolio performance, so how much you've spent, how much you brought in, what that leaves your current book cost as, the current value of the portfolio, the P&L based on the book cost versus the current value, and the P&L percentage overall for the portfolio. So every time you sell something at a profit, your book cost goes down, obviously, because you're making a profit on that and banking some profit on it. So the difference between the debits and the credits is your overall book cost. You get then a split of your asset class diversification, so each individual debit and credit account amount for these classes, the individual book cost, value, P&L percentage, so you can track if one of those asset classes is performing better or how you want to manage that. You can see what sits across your providers, and again the same data in terms of what the P&L figures are across providers, and you can see the portfolio split of crypto, pension, ISA and JISA, again in the same terms as before, all the different activity that's happened across those portfolios, how it actually looks. So the next report we have is an individual portfolio report. So this is filtered automatically on the first portfolio, which is pension. So again, shows you your high level details there. It shows you your diversification splits in the table on the left, your current asset class holdings within the portfolio. So within the pension we have some commodities and some equities. It shows you the individual holdings in terms of the assets that we have, so some BP, some coin and some gold in here. It shows us where these exist currently, so we have 200 units on Trading 212 and 100 on Vanguard for a total of 300 for British Petroleum. So again, this is why we had the providers in there. It helps us track what we have and where. And then below we can see a full list of the portfolio transactions across the different providers, and all the details that are linked to those, as well as the ledger transactions on what these are. So it gives you a full record of your transactions across the portfolio. We can split this for the junior ISA, we can look at the ISA, we can look at the crypto account, and again it just shows all the kind of base details for this. So we can see where Ripple, for example, we have 40,000 currently on Kraken and 250 on Binance, so split across providers. And that kind of explains the book cost here, because it does the book cost at a provider and a portfolio level. So if you can see the bottom in the portfolio transactions, we had 3 of our buys and sells occurred on Kraken and 1 on Binance, so there hasn't been any sells on Binance at the moment. So at the moment the book cost on Binance is the 451 because there have been no sells on it. there's an argument to say we should split that out, but my own personal view is I'd like to see that level of detail, so I've kept that in there. But you can see notionally by looking at it that we have a nil book cost across the portfolio, but this book cost being positive means that we have a positive book cost on one of our providers, so that's the way that it operates. But again, it gives you useful detail in terms of the individual portfolio and how that's split. And then the last view that we have at the moment is the quarterly progress view. So again, this shows you why we build those quarterly reports. It defaults to showing you your entire portfolio, and this is currency agnostic, so it tracks the value agnostic of the actual currency that it's included in at this point, just to show you the trend within it, so you can see overall here this was your portfolio values, they're going up. It's always going to be down in the current quarter because you've not added in the end values for the current quarter yet, so don't worry that this is shown 100% loss in this. It's because we've not got to the end of the quarter yet, so it's the gradual kind of curve or trend within the portfolio we're looking at. Below we can see the individual per year results. So for example, 2024 we've got 4 entries for the crypto portfolio, quarters 1, 2, 3 and 4, and we've got 2 entries for the pension portfolio in quarter 3 and 4. We can see the overall valuations here, we can see the P&L percentages, so tracking what's going in the right direction quarter by quarter. You can then filter this on individual portfolio and it will show you the pension only, so we only had Q3, Q4 and we're into Q5 2021 now with the pension. So again, same deal, the current quarter will always show negative because you've not put in the final value yet, but it's showing the kind of trend. And then if you look at crypto, which is the other one we've got in here, again it shows you the same thing, so you can see on a quarter by quarter basis for the individual portfolio what the trend has been, what the trend is, and just make sure you're tracking where you want to be within these kind of smaller increments of time on a quarter by quarter basis. So pretty self-explanatory, and hopefully it makes sense what the level of detail was within the portfolio manager section and why we're adding this detail as we go. So it's fairly straightforward. Add your providers, these will rarely change. Add your portfolios, these will rarely if ever change. Add your assets as you want to add them, and once you've added the asset once, you don't need to add it again. Same with funds, and then just log your portfolio activity as you perform buys and sells, whether that's on a regular monthly basis or individual buys and sells at a macro level. You can add your asset valuations if you want to update the value of any item, and track your quarterly reports by adding at the start of the quarter what the start amount was, and at the end of the quarter the end amount and the amount of capital, additional capital that you added to that, and that'll allow you to track the portfolio movement, make sure you're on target to reach the goals that you have for the portfolio, and if not, give you some ability to adjust within the portfolio to meet those goals. It also allows you to manage risk within the portfolio because you can see what your asset class diversification is across an entire portfolio. You're not going to be overexposed and not know it because your portfolio is split across providers or split across asset classes or held individual of each other. You can see this holistic view of your portfolio to see what your risk profile actually is, and you can look at the same within your individual portfolios to see where you are and make adjustments to that. So this is the way the platform operates at the moment from a portfolio perspective. This is the first tool. There will be more added and we'll build more within the portfolio section as we go, but for now this is everything you need to manage a portfolio across multiple providers, multiple portfolios and multiple asset classes.